Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'll present you with Jane Doe build and team guide. Personally, I'm very looking forward to Jane Doe because we're finally getting some nice anomaly DPS units out there. If you already played with Piper, you know how strong Assault can be, and with Jane Doe it's only going to be stronger and even better because you'll have the ability to crit with your assaults. Now let's go over her build. We'll begin with her main stats. On slot 4, you will want to use Anomaly Proficiency. Anomaly Proficiency is very important for Anomaly characters because Anomaly Proficiency will enhance the damage inflicted by the attribute Anomalies. So the more Anomaly Proficiency you'll have, the more damage your assaults will do with Jane Doe. That's why it's very important that you make sure you have Anomaly Proficiency on Jane on Drive Disc 4. As for Drive Disc 5, I highly recommend Physical Damage Bonus or Attack Ratio if Physical Damage Bonus is not available, but do know that you might have already external sources of Attack Ratio buffs within the team, so Physical Damage Bonus will definitely come out on top, but if you don't have it available, you can easily use Attack Ratio. And the last slot, Drive Disc 6, you'll want to run with Anomaly Mastery. Anomaly Mastery is a rare stat. You do not have it from substats, you can only get it from V-engines or character themselves. That's why you want to make sure you have this main stat here no matter what. There is no really replacement for this, so make sure to get this stat no matter what. If you have a tuning calibrator available, you could easily use it to get the Anomaly Mastery main stat on set bonus with ease, or even get the piece if you don't happen to have it. Anomaly Mastery itself will increase the efficiency of Anomaly build-up compared to Proficiency, which increases the damage. So basically the difference between Proficiency and Mastery is that Mastery will increase the frequency of the attribute Anomaly, meanwhile Proficiency will enhance the damage of the anomaly itself. If you do want to know more in detail how anomaly stuff works, I will provide a nice Google Doc in my description down below. It is not mine, it will be credited appropriately within the description. Now let's go over her substats. You'll primarily want Anomaly Proficiency as much as possible. Not only this stat will increase her anomaly damage, it directly helps with her core skill as well. Her assault can crit, it has the ability to crit, that is. However, the base chance of this crit is at 40%. You can increase the crit rate chance of this happening for each point of her Anomaly Proficiency stat by 0.16%. So if you have 250 Anomaly Proficiency, you'll be able to get an extra 40% crit rate, making it, for example, 80% crit rate for Assault to happen, which is much more consistent than, let's say, 40%. Do know that the crit damage for this Assault is fixed at 50%. Followed by Anomaly Proficiency, you'll want to get Attack Percentage. Attack Percentage is also an amazing stat in this game, scales very nicely, also for anomaly stuff. And lastly, Pen/Flat Attack. Pen will ignore some targeted defense, but it's not that powerful if you don't have a lot of Pen to begin with. But if you have it there, it's okay. Still better than a HP or flat defense. And of course, Flat Attack still more useful than those HP defense stats. As for crit rate and crit damage substats, they do not directly help Jane Doe because her Assault will only crit based on her Anomaly Proficiency stat, and also the crit damage is fixed. So from my understanding, the crit rate, crit damage substat will not help you to have an increased chance to do more crit rate, crit damage with your Assault. That's why I want to make sure you have as much as Anomaly Proficiency, at least 250 more if you can, to make it as much as consistent. Now let's go over her Drive Disc options. Jane Doe has a couple of nice sets that you can use for her. Freedom Blues is an amazing choice. It does provide Anomaly Proficiency by 30, but more importantly, whenever her X skill would hit an enemy, it will also reduce the Anomaly Build-Up Press by 20%. However, do note that this is only of the Equiper attribute, so if this is on your Jane Doe, it's only going to be Physical Anomaly Build-Up Press down and no other element. Do keep that in mind as you go into her other potential option set, which is Fanged Metal. Fanged Metal is also said that you can use on Jane Doe. It does increase physical damage, which is very nice, but more importantly, her 4-set bonus. Whenever a squad member inflicts assault on an enemy, the Equiper will deal 35% additional damage to that target for 12 seconds. This set bonus is very powerful because it doesn't have an actual actual cooldown. The only requirement is to inflict assault on an enemy. So each time you move to a new enemy and you perform an assault, you immediately have that damage boost on the target, which is very nice. However, do note that there are not that many physical options out there right now besides Piper to hold Freedom Blues in her team. Perhaps whenever they release physical support or something like that, you could potentially run that character with Jane Doe and have them on this set to help Jane Doe do even more damage, because technically Fanged Metal will give you the most value if you can run Fanged Metal on her and at the same time have a physical teammate who can run Freedom Boost to boost her damage even further. But this is very hard to achieve as of right now outside of Jane Doe with Piper, so most of the time I'll recommend you to stick with Freedom Blues for now, and perhaps in the future, or if you play with Piper, you could consider going with Fanged Metal as well. Now let's move over to her V-Engine options. Of course, her signature V-Engine Sharpened Stinger is going to be best in slot. This is a pretty strong, powerful engine specifically for her. It has 714 attack, which is very high, and also 90 anomaly proficiency. As for the passive, it is very restrictive just for Jane Doe, but it does provide a nice boost. So basically, whenever you perform a dash attack, she will gain 1 stack of Predatory Instinct. Each stack will give her 12% damage boost, and it does stack up to 3 times. So you can go up to 36% damage physical boost, which is very nice. The effect cannot trigger once every 0.5 seconds, and repeated triggers will reset the duration. So you can also kind of have a pretty good uptime on this with Jane. And also, whenever you enter combat or trigger perfect dodge, you will immediately gain 3 stacks of this buff. And also, while you have Predatory Instinct up at maximum stacks, it will also increase her anomaly build-up rate by 40%. So this V-Engine is very strong for Jane, much more stronger than other options that are available. But once again, I do not recommend that you go for V-Engines at this stage of the game. There's definitely gonna be better stuff later on for the same price, so I just recommend patience and see how it goes. Plus, there will be reruns anyway, and you could just get it on a rerun later if nothing better ends up coming out. Before I go to other V-Engine options, I would like to quickly talk about Fusion Compiler and why I don't recommend this V-Engine for Jane. There are several problems with this V-Engine, why it's not that good for Jane Doe. The first problem, the substat is not anomaly proficiency, but pen ratio. Jane wants passive anomaly proficiency stat, because the combat buff of anomaly proficiency, such as this passive, does not account for her passive ability, which converts anomaly proficiency into attack. So if you want your Jane to get attack from her anomaly proficiency stat conversion, it has to be a passive stat and not a combat buff. That's why this will not work for her as well at all, and also she won't be able to get 3 stacks that easily at all, because with Jane Doe you're not going to be using normal special attacks but only X special skill, unlike you would do it with Grace. That's why I don't recommend this V-Engine. You're better off using something else that has a guaranteed passive anomaly proficiency buff, either from the substat, or it would just say here increases anomaly proficiency by, I don't know, 30, and that would work. As long as the combat buff itself, it's not going to work for her passive conversion, and it's much worse in value. And now I would like to talk about her other A rank options. You do have Electro Lip Gloss. This is a Battle Pass V-Engine. This one can be pretty good, but it's also hard to use. It has potential, it does have anomaly proficiency, but it's not as simple to use compared to the other option we're going to talk about shortly after this one. So I personally don't really recommend this Battle Pass V-Engine if you don't know what you're doing, because the passive requires some setup to get most out of this one. And now let's move over to the free-to-play option, which is the only option that you can realistically use for Jane Doe if you have nothing else of what I listed so far. It's going to be Rainforest Gourmet. This is a pretty good V-Engine for her. It does have anomaly proficiency passive, which will work perfectly fine for her AP into attack conversion. The passive itself will provide you some attack as well for every 10 energy consumed. Her X skill does cost 60 energy, so you will be able to get at least 15% attack, and assuming you have dupes of this, which you should be able to have at R5, it's going to get you 24% instead. This is an alright V-Engine and pretty much the best in slot option free to play. There is nothing else. else. However, do know the disparity between Rainforest Gourmet and her signature is pretty large, but nevertheless, Rainforest Gourmet will work just fine for now. Maybe in the future, as the content get harder, you might want to invest into her V engine as well. But as right now, I believe it's going to be perfectly fine with Rainforest Gourmet, and that's about it. Now, we're going to talk about her team options, but before I get into that, I would like to let you know that Jane Doe is a part of the police faction. Yes, she's part of the criminal investigation special response team. She always has been. If you watch the original trailers pre-release of the game, they did show you that she's part of this squad. You can also read up her kit online if you don't believe me. So you will get the additional ability from Jane Doe also by running somebody with criminal investigation special response team teammate. Just as a heads up before I start talking about team options, because I did notice in my previous video about Chingy that people were thinking that Jane Doe is not part of this faction, but she is. The best partner for Jane as of right now is going to be Grace plus Seth. Grace and Seth will allow you to have good anomaly build up on target and do very nice disorder damage with your Jane Doe. If you're not sure how disorder stuff works, as I mentioned earlier, I will provide a ZZZ damage calculation Google Doc in the description down below. It has been made by Arcus. Feel free to check it out. I highly recommend it if you want to learn more in detail how this works. But generally, by playing Grace with Seth and Jane, you will be able to do a lot of anomaly damage slash disorder damage, which is very nice. However, do know that Grace will most likely get replaced in the future with some other anomaly unit that's even better at building up anomaly that she is. But for now, this is something that you'll want to use with your Jane. If you don't have Grace, you do have several other options, some better or worse. You can go with Rina. She should also decently work fine with Seth and Jane Doe. Or even better, you could run with Chingy. Chingy is an excellent stunner. She will provide a lot of extra damage for your team, because not only she's going to stun enemies quicker, because do know that enemies do take more damage when they're stunned, she also has a stun damage multiplier increase from her core skill, where it'll do even more damage against stun targets. Generally with Chingy, Seth and Jane Doe, you'll be stunning enemies very quickly, and it's going to be a very powerful team. I would say that between Chingy and Grace, I think both teams are going to be pretty good for Jane Doe. As for Rina version, I'm not that certain or confident about it. You could also try Rina plus Grace. However, I think this team will lack stuns, because do know that Seth can also work as a semi-stunner. He can help you with quite a decent amount of days build up as well. So I'm not sure how this team will end up being for free-to-play, but with more investment and especially have some cinemas on these characters, I could see this team potentially working pretty fine. But generally for free-to-play, I would say that Grace, Seth with Jane is probably going to be the way to go, or instead of Grace with Chingy. I would also like to go quickly over Jane Doe Bangbu options. Basically for Jane Doe, you want to use Bangbus that either provide electric anomaly build-up or Bangbus that provide physical anomaly build-up. Just choose between ideally Plug Boo or Lucky Boo depending on your team composition. So if you have Piper plus Jane in the team, you go with Lucky Boo. If you have Grace slash Chingy with Seth, then you go with something like Plug Boo. There are some alternatives to these two Bangbus as well. You can run Electro Boo instead of Plug Boo if you don't have that one. It still does provide electric anomaly build-up. As the alternative for Lucky Boo, let's say you missed the event or something like that, it would be Bang Volver. This one has unfortunately RNG in his kit, so it might not even shoot at times. I'm not a big fan of this one, and if you really want a physical anomaly build-up, I sure hope you have Lucky Boo. So yeah, I guess this is it for this video. I hope it gave you some idea how to go about it with Jane Doe. She's a very nice, fun character. I can't wait to get her. She's definitely gonna shake up the meta, and I'm all for it. And of course, if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask in the comments down below, or even better, feel free to ask me directly on my streams. I do stream every single day on Twitch/YouTube after all. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I wish you a wonderful day and see you in the next video.